The fifth one of the six is the angry God. This one's fairly popular as well, and he articulates it this way. He says, Christianity seems to be built around the concept of a condemning judgmental deity. For example, there's the cross, the teaching that the murder of one man, Jesus, leads to the forgiveness of others. But why can't God just forgive us? The God of Christianity seems a leftover of primitive religions where peevish gods demanded blood in order to assuage their wrath. In other words, it just seems wrong that God would need to shed blood to stop being mad. Now, Keller's response briefly is this. He says, on the cross, God does not demand our blood, but offers his own. Man, that's an amazing response. He says, you're missing it. The blood that the Christianity says atones doesn't come from a single person. It came from God himself. Now, he unpacks it these two ways. He says, all forgiveness of any deep... Now, by the way, I think this is the best of all six. This is the one that has like beads. They're like beads of perfume. It radiates, I think, so much of what Christianity is. All forgiveness of any deep wrong and injustice entails suffering. Suffering on the forgiver's part. If someone truly wrongs you because of our deep sense of justice, we can't just shrug it off. We sense there's a debt. We can then, from that point, have either make the perpetrator pay down the debt you feel as you take it out of his hide in vengeance. In other words, when you come to this pause and someone's done something wrong and you've suffered, you can actually say, I'm going to get even. I'm going to take care of it by making them pay for it. Or you can forgive. He says, but that is actually, if you don't forgive and you take it out of his hide in vengeance, it spreads evil into us and it hardens us. Or you actually forgive. But forgiving is difficult. When you've been hurt deeply, it is really hard to let it go. And that's what he's saying. We know that. There's a sense, you don't have to be a Christian to know that. As a counselor for 21 years, I can tell you that one of the most difficult things and the greatest amount of courage that you will ever have to muster is to forgive someone. Some of you have never had the ability to forgive yourself. Now, the second point he makes is the one that augments the best with this, because the first one he basically said, to forgive, there has to be suffering because it's so painful. And you take it out on him or her, or you take it out on you. And you are willing to forgive, but you pay the price. The second point he says, if we can't forgive without suffering because of our sense of justice, it's not surprising to learn that God couldn't forgive without suffering too. Coming in the person of Christ and dying on the cross. That is profound. Because it's appealing to our own sense of justice when something's been wrong. And we know that sooner or later something has to pay for it. And in the cross, God made the payment. He says, if you're willing to acknowledge that, I'll let it go. That's profound treatment. That brings us